Hi, everyone. This is Norman Kochnick here. Norman Kochnick here from Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnick. Australia after day 3 against England. In fact, it's been England's recovery, let's call it. They were in a whole heap of mess at 4 for 36, but they end up finishing the day on a rather, you would argue, rather impressive note. They've in fact finished on, let me have a quick look, confirm that with 7 for 258, as I thought. At one stage, England were 4 for 36 and looking down the barrel of a Boland rout. He was bowling well. He was 2 for none off some 4 or 5 overs, 4 or 5 maidens. But in the end, Johnny Bairstow came through and scored a magnificent 103 not out, scored the 4 off basically the last deliveries there of the over off Cummins. He was ably supported by Ben Stokes, who got a very, very strong 66, was out LBW to line on a straight ball. And Mark Wood was quite handy with his barnyard type shots, but he unfortunately nicked one off onto his helmet, and that led to him going out for 39. But Leach is still there. Butler succumbed very quickly for another duck. Johnny Bairstow's putting in a bid to be the opener. Sorry, the keeper. Obviously, Zach Crawley looked solid, but just didn't go on with it. And effectively, the score was quite a poor one. David, how are you?
Norman, nice to hear from you.
Likewise, Happy New Year. We've spoken since New Year, haven't we?
No. We've had a Happy New Year. I've had a birthday. Apart from that, yeah, I'm a year old.
Of course, your birthday. Happy birthday, which I did wish you on social media, which you would have seen, even with photographs and the like.
Yeah, no, it was, well, we'd had a positive test within the family on Christmas Eve, which caused a bit of disruption. But apart from that, so how many people are going to be left fit enough to play by the end of tomorrow?
From the Australian perspective, well, Boland doesn't look very solid, does he? I don't know how Bairstow's still batting. He damaged his thumb quite badly, but he seems to be injected and very happy. But I have something else to say, David. I've actually got COVID. I'm sitting here with COVID.
You have?
Yeah.
All right.
I'm in a hotel room. If you can see, I'm in a hotel room at the airport. I'll just quickly show you where I am. I'm looking straight over Sydney Airport at the moment. That's Sydney Airport there, and I'm stuck in my.
So what is that, Norman? Is that Sydney?
Yeah, that's Sydney Domestic Airport.
All right.
So I'm just there, and no, I'm not Novak Djokovic. He's stuck in Melbourne Airport.
That'll be very interesting to see how that develops.
I hope we're stubborn enough to not let him in. I hope we're stubborn enough.
The Australian Prime Minister's gone up in my estimation. One thing about Australians, they'll just tell you straight. It doesn't matter who they are, where they are, or whatever. There's no ambiguities in terms of when somebody makes a statement. So.
Well, Barami's saying, who is that girl under the bedsheet? There's no girl under the bedsheet, I can assure you. No. So Sripali Wirikoti opened up her fitness centre in Sri Lanka. Arjuna was there for the opening.
Yeah, looks lovely. No, I'll send her a message today. Looks really nice.
Well, it's also her birthday today as well.
So
when was your birthday, the first or second?
Roman, how long are you on for this morning? No.
Oh, an hour or so.
Right. Well, I'm just. I've obviously just watched the carnage that this, and it'll happen 100 times more, and it's happened 100 times beforehand. Of Australia for the whole of the series have been disciplined in everything that they've done, and the moment somebody takes the battle to them, just human reaction, they just seem to lose the plot.
Exactly.
Sort of the round the wickets body line thing doesn't work against modern players because they can might work at bats, but in the end, bowling a decent length, aiming at the stumps, eventually somebody will make a mistake, because that's why he bats where he bats. So
look, he did commendably well. Josh Butler looks out of sorts, but Johnny Bairstow, 103 not out, magnificent. What a gutsy performance!
And it'll be a very emotional thing. The look into the sky is sort of in memory of his dad.
Yeah.
So we've ended up in a situation where he's got 100. He wasn't selected at the beginning. Stuart Broad has been in and out of the team. He's taken 5 wickets. There'll not be questions asked. You have a squad, so you use the squad. So, but the Australians are really. I can remember sort of having quotes of Steve Waugh when we selected our team, and he was very keen to comment on why we selected him, why didn't you select the other guy, just to sow the seeds of doubt within the opposition. So it's a very much an Australian trait, but. The way that their new guys have come in, Kwaja's got 100, coming as a replacement. Boland got 6 for 7, so they've done really well. So I think even the Australian cricket fans will be pleased deep down that actually England have shown a bit of fight. And
absolutely,
they're
just quickly on Kwaja,
they stay well in front of the game. But
look, if they get another 30 or 40 runs, maybe 50 runs, they're making a game of it, aren't they?
Yeah, so that'd be good.
Now, Usman Kwaja, I think we talked earlier about my thoughts on him, and he should have been in the side. Well, he's in the side. He scored 137 in a most majestic, Gower-like fashion. I thought it was magnificent batting.
He's a proper player, but he shouldn't have been out there. That was a pretty. Slip catches up to slow bowlers is not easy. It can be deflected off the wicketkeeper's gloves, can be a back foot shot or whatever. But as slip catches go, that was actually a pretty standard catch.
But anyway, regardless, he scored 137. And
he played beautifully, because the three wickets that we lost, lost to start with, they will all be kicking themselves because they all got in and got out, which is the cardinal sin more than anything else. So, but in England have it is a norm that in past series that England start to play with a lot more passion and a lot more carefree attitude when the series is gone.
That's true. I mean, they showed when they got hurt that they come out with all guns blazing. Ben Stokes, with his left side apparently not in order, batted particularly well to get his 66, I think it was, or 67. I can't remember the exact score.
No. And then, he's and the scars of what happened at Headingley, Norman, anybody who played in that match will always think the same way, particularly Nathan Lyon.
Oh, yeah.
And what they did in this game, which some of the pundits have been crying out for, is Nathan Lyon's a top-class bowler, but the tactic of trying to attack the spinner on a wicket that isn't really doing a lot just means the seam bowlers have got to come back and keep bowling. And if you've lost one of them, like in Boland being injured, it puts a lot of, and India had the same problem in South Africa. One of their seamers got injured, and it just dislodged the balance of their attack. And but that'd be a fantastic result for South African cricket.
But you would argue they didn't deserve to win that match. In the previous 3 innings, they got 200, and one up just over. India had a form of ascendancy towards the end of the match, and then South Africa somehow batted really well in the last innings, thanks to Dean Elgar with his 96 not out. Let's be honest, he was.
And again, they had a bit of a to-do with Bumrah and got him sucked into a bouncer warfare, which isn't actually the length he should be bowling. So, yeah. But I think it just shows that the game moved forwards. I'm sure when Quinton de Kock, which was a bit of a shock, retired from Test match cricket, they would all been throwing their hands up in the air. How can we keep going? But somebody else comes in and does a job. So it sets up a fantastic. They've got another Test match at Cape Town, haven't they?
They have.
That'd be good.
So what do you think of Shardul Thakur there now? Shardul Thakur took 7 wickets. He gets a handy 30, 40, 50 runs when he bats. He's all class, if you ask me.
No, he's done really well, because if you saw him in the IPL, saw him in the one-day internationals, he was a bit of the weak link in terms of their attack. But I think he bowls an attacking length, which I think with the red ball works really well. So
yeah,
I would have to say I've watched that Test match more than I've watched the England-Australia one, actually. Because once the game is played around 200, 250, Norman, it's actually, they always become really exciting games. Because unless the weather intervenes, you can take the draw out of the equation. So somebody's going to win or somebody's going to lose, which does focus the mind. It's just a shame they're just playing. All the stadiums are hopeless when there's nobody in it, but that one in particular is just, I don't know how the players can keep their focus more than anything else.
That's true.
But the biggest playing anyway.
So your birthday game was January the 2nd, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, possibly the most antisocial day in the year, Norman. Because in the UK, most people have retired from everything. So.
Oh, well, still a significant birthday for you and for anyone that knows you. All right, so what about the Bangladesh-New Zealand match? That must have impressed you, the Bangladesh...
Well, that is an extraordinary result in as far as that you and I have witnessed Asian teams touring, playing away games. So, their seamers are, sort of not... they play on wickets where it doesn't do a lot, so they've got to do different things with the ball and whatever. So for Hussain to take 5 wickets in the way that he did was fantastic, really. Does show you, I think, how Kane Williamson is the glue that keeps everything together for New Zealand.
Absolutely.
But Bangladesh are good. We're the current holders of the Under-19 World Cup. And the one thing that they do is that they accelerate their best young under-19 players straight in the test team. So they bed them down pretty easy. And I think you'll see that with the Sri Lankans. After that T20 World Cup, they've got a couple of batsmen at the top order who are exceptional players. So I just think it's really, really good. New Zealand have a very proven way they want to play, I don't think it's ever happened in history. Somebody's taken all 10 the game before, doesn't get selected for the next Test match. That's quite an extraordinary. But I can understand why, because they're entirely different wickets. But
yeah, I think that was a mistake, because he would have been valued in that match. But it's still a bit unusual. It's rare. It's rare. The same goes with Kwaja for a moment here. He's come back, scored 137. Marcus Harris, 14 Test matches now, 25 innings, no 100. They're saying a commendable 70, which I'm sorry, 70 is not commendable when you're supposed to score centuries as an opening batsman. Why wouldn't you now leave Kwaja in and drop Harris?
Well, Harris, I would have to say I thought Harris played with a bit more freedom. I know he got only 30 odd, but he actually played some pretty attacking shots. It's a nice conundrum to have, I would have to say.
But David, see, you were just defending Harris. I'm not knocking that. A lot of commentators in Australia are going, well, he got a good 70. He looked good for 30. But that's not. It's not about so much that. It's more about the fact that you've got a guy like Kwaja who's just come in and scored 137, and is all class. Has scored 9 centuries. He's got the evidence on the board. It's not a matter of someone who may or may not do something in the near future. Gonna, shoulda, woulda. No, he has to have done it. And he's had 14 tests. And they need to give Kwaja the opportunity to finish this series and give Harris a bit of a lesson as to he's got to get 100. That's my thoughts.
If you look at Mike Gatting's career, he had the same sort of scenario. He played a lot of Test matches before he got his first 100. I think Australia Bailey, as the head selector, has identified some talent that I think, Australia, they probably realised, you would have realised, but the rest of the world knows that actually they've got some replacements that stand up and want to be selected. So it is a nice conundrum to have.
But what would you do? What would you honestly do?
Sorry?
What would you do?
I'd like to see what happens in the second innings. If they have I see what the reaction of Harris in terms of having somebody breathing down his neck. Yeah, I'd like to see another innings to see what would happen. So,
okay.
but I would probably be leaning towards Kwaja because of the way. All right, he had a life, but that's not his fault. Somebody drops him. But the way that he played was, really, really classic. Because he is.
Well, the second new ball.
He originates from New South Wales, doesn't he, Norman?
Yeah, of course. And he also has opened for Australia and got centuries opening for Australia.
Yeah.
And 50s. And handle the second new ball as if there was no big deal. So it's the credibility of his ability to bat as an opener is not questioned. He's actually opened for Australia. He's scored centuries for Australia. He scored some whopping centuries. I think he got 170 odd as an opener in earlier series. What I'm getting at is you think from your observations as a selector, you would make that decision and drop Harris over Kwaja on his return, or would you be loyal to the process where he's replaced Head? Even Head bizarrely, Head was not playing this match because of COVID, right? He had COVID, but he was on the field today as a substitute fieldsman. Now that's nonsensical.
He probably might have been cleared as the game has progressed to be able to participate.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Why would you rush a person onto the field if he's just been cleared by COVID? Why would you? I mean, I'm not saying it's going to suddenly flare up, but I don't understand why you need to do that.
It seems a bit odd, and also it seems quite confrontational to the people who've come in to replace them. Sort of, this was the guy being dropped. We'll just get him on the field just to show that he's still part of the setup. So
yeah, I find that bizarre. Yeah. I'm sorry, he was ruled out of this game because of COVID.
But I think Norman, this is a product of the bubble sort of scenario. That actually, if you're going to have replacements, they've got to have come from that bubble environment.
But they had plenty of other players that were sitting on the bench there that could have went on the field ahead of Travis Head.
Yeah,
I found it a signal. I found it. Hey, I'm still here. I'm still here. I found that very.
That's the way that you would interpret that, wouldn't you? So,
I would.
I think Marcus Harris will know the pressure that he's on when he takes guard in the next innings. So. And actually, I hope England continue to bat in the manner that they're doing, but it's more than likely that Australia will have a lead. So he's in the best possible position. It's not like the Indian openers going out when they were facing a small deficit, playing on a difficult wicket. We know that Kohli's going to come back in the next match. Somebody's going to have to drop, but that goes with the territory, doesn't it? So
yeah, I don't think, if I'm being fair, it would be better for him if it was a stressful situation in his performance and he had to get big runs in that last innings to survive or to arrest the loss, or that may be something that may be more stand out than it would if he just simply has to go on their bat and where they're already 200 or 150 in front. I don't know. I think it's too late already because we're talking about the 26th innings that he's opened and he's yet to score a century. I don't think he'll be able to score a century. I don't think anyone's going to score a century for the rest of the match, to be honest with you. We're down to the last 2 days and the pitch is deteriorating, so it'll take a miracle for someone to have time or be able to score a century. But I just don't think that's going to happen. And I think it's already too late. This is his 14th Test match.
Well, we'll find out, Norman. But it's a nice problem to have.
I guess so. I guess.
What was any feedback about what's happened to Boland, or are they keeping that under wraps?
Yeah, he seems to be okay. He just landed on it. He landed on his side with his elbow under that side as he fell. I think it's more jarring or bruising at best, and he seemed quite free and quite. He may not be needed for the rest of this innings, but he seems okay. I mean, you've also lost Ben Stokes. He doesn't look like he's going to bowl the rest of this match.
That if there's an injury for a bowler, Norman, that is the worst injury you can have. Intercostal muscles. no matter how many jabs you can have. Well, I think you can bat because you're not lifting your arm up to bowl. So there is a way to do it. It'd be interesting, but the way that people are treated with injections and blocks and things like that. Bairstow might have broken his. I think the key thing is if he has, it's whether or not it's unstable in terms of a fracture. And normally hand specialists say that's it. You can't play until that's fixed.
It hit him on the top of the thumb. I've had that injury too, where the ball hits the top of your thumb and it actually breaks the bones further down because it crushes it. It causes a fracture on the pressure.
You can end up with fingers like this, Norman. my impersonation of Ian Healy, that is.
Well, Bairstow's also, as I said, Bairstow's one injury, but it looks like Butler's also got an injury because they had does Pope keep?
Oh yeah, no, he can keep.
Because we saw him in the nets practicing keeping, because it looks as though Butler can also not keep for the rest of the match.
Yeah, he's Josh Butler is an extraordinary player, I would have to say.
Yeah,
and he's he's got a, not saying it's the reason why, but he's got a young family, just had a new addition, and he's quite rightly, he was brought back into the Red Bull play, and he just looks mentally tired, if anything.
He's very red in the eyes. He looks very withdrawn. You're right, but I think Butler's injured his hands as well. He's got some sort of injury or wrist. He may not be able to keep. With Bairstow possibly breaking his thumb or fracturing his thumb, he won't be able to keep. So they may have to bring Pope on to do just that.
Well, I'm sure you've spoken, Norman, to a lot of older wicket keepers, and they just dismiss broken fingers because they said if you stop for a broken finger, you'll never get your place back. So that's
true.
You just get on with it and end up
you tape it up, you inject, and you keep.
Looking hands by the time you finish. So
I was actually a keeper too, and I had many an injury. And if you
do everything, Norman, it's quite extraordinary, really. So,
no, I was a keeper.
How long are you marooned in the hotel for?
Sorry?
How long are you in the hotel for now, in terms of isolation?
Until Sunday,
right?
And maybe Monday, because I was not
well on the wires that Boff is now a confirmed case as well.
Oh, it's 38,000 in a day, which is large for Sydney. It's very large numbers.
Well, over Christmas they were, and I don't know how they work these figures out, Norman. So that in London in particular, one in 15 people was a confirmed case.
Wow.
Either had it or not, and there's no talking to players in South Africa. The peak has passed for them, but I think in their scenario, either the combination of they had a very much a herd mentality.
Yeah.
So a lot of people have had it in the past, so that's the immunity there. Together with vaccinations, has meant that. And there seems to be pretty a lot of evidence, Norman, about that it's not quite as strong as the other variations. So there is a bit of a difficulty deciphering, certainly in the UK, whether it's actually mild flu symptoms or actually COVID. So,
well, I agree, because I on Sunday through to Monday morning, I felt a bit of hot and cold sweats. I couldn't sleep properly. I had a few aches and pains, the kind of flu-y type symptoms.
Yeah.
And then I went and got tested at the hospital, Prince of Wales and at Randwick. Next day, on the Tuesday, I was given a positive test in isolation. So, but what annoys me, that was the day before the test started, which is a great timing. Of course, I wanted to see the test.
That's,
anyway,
restaurants are closing not because of increased regulations; just got nobody to cook. So
Yeah.
I think the world is beginning to adjust to living with it as opposed to shutting things down, because if you shut things down, the whole industry just goes out the window. So.
No, you're right. We're just simply moving on with it, getting through the initial fear of getting it, and now moving on. So there's Paul Newman here saying pitch may be really flat now if England scored this many runs. Well, no, it's not flat at all. It's a fair bit of high and low bounce.
Yeah.
It's a lot of movement off the wicket, even an element of swing. It's still a bowler's paradise as far as I'm concerned. You had to really ink out the run.
It's just maintaining sort of the discipline. And, if somebody takes the battle to you, it's hard. But one thing that they have done is to take the battle to Nathan Lyon, which means that the other bowlers, and particularly Green, is going to have to bowl a bit more than he has in the past. So
that's true.
Not saying they can't, and I'm sure he could step up to the plate. But it's a tactic the Australians have used with Jack Leach, which is hard. If you're the only spinner in the team, it can be mentally really damaging. So
he didn't bowl badly.
It's good to see England do the same thing. But Bairstow is a serious attacker of particularly off spin, because he can play that slog sweep, which is pretty destructive. So, but they will know that if they can bowl and it's more a Cummings type line, actually. It's sort of like fifth stump nipping the ball back. That becomes a bit of a weakness for him. But delighted for him. His mother will be ecstatic. And, the reason why he looks to the sky. I played with and against his dad, who was, again, a larger-than-life person. So, pleased for the family, really, more than anything else.
So, okay, in terms of Bairstow and the selection process now, let's assume that Butler, for whatever reason, is not fit enough for the next test. Would you then have Bairstow keep if his thumb's okay, or would you then have Pope come in to keep?
Well, it depends, Norman, the extent of his damage to his hand. They might have injected it or patched it up to enable him to play bat in this innings. How he shapes up in the morning is a different matter, and how it looks then. And that'll be, for Stokes to grimace in the way that he's done. And, he showed real high level of bravery and whatever. He is going to be really sore tomorrow. So that means as and when England bowl, they're going to be a bowler down. So that means they've only got the three seamers and Jack Leach, a bit of Joe Root, obviously. So it's taking on the impressions of last man standing, this test match. And that's the downside of playing test matches close together. It's hard work, 5 days. Not that I have any personal experience, but only just observing other people. So it'll be interesting to see how they and it'd be a shame for the match to be decided on who's got more injured players than somebody else. But it's a tough game. So and Australia in particular. Well, I can't remember the last time that Brody bounced somebody out, which he did to Cummings. That was an extraordinary decision, because it looks on the replay that it wasn't anywhere near it, or something was wrong with the timing of it looked real time as he definitely gloved it. I was beginning to think it came off his arm guard to start with, but it definitely came off his glove.
Well, Simon Torfel now is this official umpire commentator in the background who comes on and goes through some incredible detail as to what's going on, which is impressive. And I know Simon personally, as you probably do.
Yeah.
He's an incredibly nice bloke. I love him to death. He's such a very down to earth, not at all aloof or distant. He's extremely engaging, extremely wanting to talk cricket. I love him. He and a guy called Arthur Watson are good friends of mine. Arthur, of course, was a World Series cricket umpire back in the day. He's still umpiring now, well into his late 70s, early 80s. Incredible guy. So, but look, I'm excited because we've got still 2 days of play. Unlikely to be a true result, but we just don't know. England are back into the picture. They're 158 runs adrift, but they've still got wickets in hand. They could knock off another 50-odd runs, make it quite interesting.
Well, they need to go at the pace they're going, Norman. If they try and sort of eke the runs out, then that isn't going to work. They've got to. No. They know the second new ball, which can easily fly around the park as well. So I'm sure they will be sitting in the dressing room, right? recognising the fact that Bairstow has batted in the way there is fantastic for him. Let's have better plans how we're going to stop his areas of scoring. And as everybody will know as a bowler, and me as an average bowler, you can't score runs if you're standing next to me at the bowler's end. So, and actually, a lot of I can remember witnessing or being part of definite plans to keep the best players away from the strike. If they take a single, so be it.
So look, there's more rain predicted. Paul Evans has said there's more rain predicted tomorrow. It'll be intermittent, off and on again, game time. Look, a draw may well be the possibility. It may be a result, but either way, I'm happy that England have come out and had a good fight today. That the Stokes and the Bairstows have come out and also the bowling batters, I'll call them that, with Wood have done their bit to try to ink out a total.
Wood's a really dangerous player.
He is.
If you suddenly try and hit him on the head or anything like that, the modern player invariably doesn't shy away from that contest. So you'll have a guy attempt to hitting it, but the one thing that does exist is that actually, if you go down that route, you are actually removing two ways of being dismissed. You're not going to be bowled, and you're not going to be LBW. So why not just bowl normally as if you were bowling to a top order batsman? Oh, yeah, that's easy for me to say. Easy for me to say as an average batsman.
Did you see Zach Crawley? He was looking good. He was getting some nice drives in there. I was really waiting for him to burst on, and it didn't happen. And Milan got out again rather cheaply, but he still looks to me good enough. And Root, oh my God, he got out for a duck. It was devastating. At that stage, at 4 for 36, I thought we're over today.
Yeah, I thought we were going down the same. But, the counter attack that they did was really good.
Brilliant.
So I think it's given, or maybe a bit too late in the proceedings, but it's given a blueprint of how to play. But, I think I was listening to Ricky Ponting or was on social media. He'd said that the first 3 wickets were bowler friendly. So you can, if you adopt that real sort of positive way to play, it doesn't work all the time and looks pretty odd when it doesn't work. That's why I think that the way, if you look back on Adam Gilchrist's career, he was a phenomenal player because invariably he did change the direction of the game, a bit like Bairstow. That is the Gilchrist innings.
But don't you think Butler perhaps could? He's got some demons going on as to maybe tiredness, family issues, positive issues, but they're issues. He may just want to go out and just play a Cavalier one day, 20.
I think with all these guys, Norman, they just need a start. They just need the ability to be able to get a few, locate the middle of the bat, work out where your off stump is. You're playing against some seriously good bowlers, but everybody needs a bit of a break to start and get into your innings. And once that happens with Josh, it could be the second innings or whatever, he'll be off and running. But the longer it goes on without scoring, as you say, the demons become greater.
So why would... Okay, this is just me thinking out of the box here. I was going to say open with Bairstow, but he's proven himself right where he is perfect. Open with Butler. Tell him to think he's walking out with 50 overs to play and play a swashbuckling innings where he all of a sudden just takes toll of them and is on 50 or 80 runs before we know it. And then he can settle and get a century.
The problem with that, and that has to a certain degree logic. The only problem is if you've been fielding for a day and a half in the heat in Australia and then go and strap the pads onto bats, then that is actually being somewhat unfair to the individual.
True. But the conditions in this particular match, the weather hasn't been unfavourable to... You could do it effectively. It's been more of a...
Yeah, but I think I don't care where... For me, it doesn't matter where Josh bats. It's just trying to give him the confidence to be able to say, look, Josh, it doesn't matter what happens. And I'm sure these conversations are taking place. Just go and play with freedom,
But I mean, but why I'm saying that is because the troubles that England have had at the opening part, as the opening partnership was gone, they've had failures less than 22 runs or whatever it is for the entire series. Throw Butler in there, devil may care, perhaps have Zach Crawley go at 1, drop everybody down 1, or mix it around a little bit.
Best that would be another option to do that, because he opens in white ball cricket. So
that's true. I mean, look, I'm only saying Butler because he seems to be mentally needing a shift, whereas Bairstow's just done it today. He's been absolutely phenomenal. It's been a very impressive. I'm very impressed with Bairstow today. It was not unlike Kwaja really in their efforts in terms of the way they've, at a later stage of their career, have come out and played a very clever innings. Very impressive.
Well, I think people waking up in the UK will just be relieved, delighted that actually may not affect the end result, but whether there might be the winner in the end. But from a situation of 36 for 4, and the whole country would have said, "Here we go again," that actually somebody said, "No, we're not going to do this again. We're going to show some fight and whatever." Not to say they haven't wanted to fight before, but 2 people have got some runs, and excuse me, taken the battle to Australia. If you take the battle, and they're not quite the same bowlers as they are if you,
No, that's right. If you stand up to Australia, they begin to react.
You just bowl better, so you just get better than that. So,
what do you think?
So you're going to be roughly the same time tomorrow, Norman?
Yeah, the same time tomorrow. It'll be 6:30 my time, which is 7:30 your time.
I look forward to continuing our chat, and hopefully the margin will have closed even more by then. So, but I hope you managed to survive the day being locked in your rooms.
Thank you. Now I think that everything's good. I'm feeling fine now.
No, you look good.
I'm going to retest.
Are they delivering food to you or not?
Sorry?
Are they delivering food to you? Or are you?
Don't worry. They're delivering food to me, and I'm getting food. Because if I show you across the... Hello, Munchie.
Good morning. Happy New Year to David.
Munchie, how are you?
Well, better now. Woken up, showered, shaved, refreshed, had some breakfast. Trying to get the depression out of my system.
As you can see from my
I'll let you go. You can sort yourself out there, David.
For a number of hours.
Yeah, I only caught the last couple of hours.
So I apologise for me rushing off, but
that's okay, David. Thanks for joining.
We're some optimism today, Munchie. That actually we've shown a bit of fight in what we're doing.
Yeah, definitely a bit of ticker. I think one of the advantages with the BT Sport coverage that we have in the UK, you can go on the stream and you can click and catch up on some of the major instances, the wickets, and particularly the ones from the top order. I thought certainly Hamid and Crawley getting bowled by top orders. The balls didn't move that much, so it was very disappointing. But then to see the likes of Stokes, Bairstow, Mark Wood, just really giving it back to the bowlers, that was a good sight to see.
Well, Steve has, and he's somebody that I've been involved with under 19 cricket, and his career has fluctuated, and but one of the things that he has is if you watch his front foot, that he has this habit of trying to play forward. The front foot doesn't move anywhere, and the back foot goes back. So in essence, his weight doesn't get into the ball. Yeah. So as a result of that, then actually you can get bowled through the gate quite a lot. But he works. Nobody works harder than he does at this game.
No, what Norm will tell you, I've been an advocate for Hamid. I saw him obviously during the lockdown, the YouTube game. India played England, and he played a brilliant 100 there. I think what's happened in Australia, and I think they've highlighted quite often on the television coverage, and I think you pointed it out as well, the bat is so far away from his front pad that when he's playing the forward defensive, he hasn't got that big wall.
Because his weight's not going into it, his hands are sort of...
Guys, can you notice a certain branded building behind me? Can you identify it, please?
Sorry, Norm, is this your sightseeing trip you're producing?
Well, no, it's just you asked about food. Well, I've got a McDonald's sign within eyesight.
Oh, I see it now. Yep.
Across the road.
I'm not without food.
So much. Did you have a good Christmas?
Just a quiet one, thanks, David. I think obviously semi-reclusive with COVID. A little bit of contact with family, but not a lot. I was listening earlier while I was getting myself sorted out, and when you're quoting the number of 1 in 15 people. Yeah, it is quite shocking at the moment. And catching the news yesterday, there's a new variant in France as well. So we're moving on from Omicron onto something called IHU now. So I think this is the frightening nature of this, where we're continually going through different mutations of the virus. And I applaud Australia's view on the Australian Open and what they've done with Novak Djokovic. And now they're looking at some of the other players. You've got to be so careful, because this thing is just going to spread all over the place. Yeah.
I would say
Well,
I've
got a new variation.
The
or
Australian
variant.
Prime Minister.
It's called Norman-Con.
In my impression, he just tells them straight, doesn't he?
Yeah, well, and I think we should have done this before ourselves in this country. We're an island, so we could have shut ourselves off, but the government chose not to, which is why we have some crazy numbers at the moment. Yes, I think, as you rightly said earlier, Omicron is not as vicious as some of the earlier variants, but the transmission rate is a lot higher. But of course, a lot of people have now been vaccinated, so therefore we're not seeing as severe symptoms. But still, we're going to have many vulnerable people in the UK, people with lung conditions, pneumonia sufferers, people suffering with various levels of asthma and other anti-immunal conditions. And really, they're still protecting themselves. Whereas some people, Norman, were shaking like mad a couple of days ago, and obviously looking a lot better, which is good to see. And those are the mild symptoms, although no one would say mild. But they're people that are more vulnerable. Really, we don't know what's going to happen to them, so we still need to protect all of these people.
I'm not registered as being vulnerable, but I have had pneumonia when I was very young. So that's probably something that my kids and wife have taken under them to make me sort of protect me. So, which is very, very kind of them. But
yes, you and your arm share have a very close relationship at the moment.
Symptoms. So anyway, we'll have to know it. So, Munchie, great to see you. Happy New Year to
you, sir.
Hopefully I'll speak to you soon. Norman, I'll speak to you tomorrow morning, if that's okay.
Yep. It'll be 7:30 your time, 6:30 my time.
Don't worry. I'll try and improve my appearance tomorrow. So
no worries.
Yeah. Well, this is still 2 hours of me bathing and showering, and I still can't get any better. So sorry about
that.
Thanks for joining, Munchie. It was good to have David there as well. What's playing in the background is women's AFL. They've just started their competition again. It's growing madly. It's become gone crazy, actually. But yes, I've got a form of COVID, which is not serious. I'm feeling, as you can see, I'm looking a lot better, aren't I?
Which is good to see, Norman.
Yeah. I've well rested and everything's fantastic. But I'm very impressed with Bairstow today.
Yeah.
As well as Stokes. I thought they both, and Wood, they put in a great effort towards the end there, and it's overdue.
Yeah, well, I was asleep during the Stokes and Bairstow knock. I had to get some sleep at some stage. After watching me get out, I thought, oh, here we go, just get some sleep now, and then got up to watch Wood and Bairstow. We know the quality of Stokes. He's shown that before, and obviously he's nursing an injury. Too many test matches, too much reliance. You could see, Stokes really wasn't fit coming into the test series, so you could see an issue there. But Bairstow has proven before. He's shown it in test matches before that he's a quality player, given the opportunity. He needs someone around him to help him. I wouldn't open with Bairstow. I know as David said, he opens in the white ball cricket. White ball, red ball, completely different. But you certainly stick with him. And Mark Wood, what is not to like about Mark Wood? I don't know. Many people have caught him in interviews. He's a very open, friendly, jovial fella. Some people may not understand exactly what he's saying, given that he comes from Newcastle, the northeast of England. But he's a wholehearted cricketer, and I think that's what people want. If you could see your players giving Cummins, I thought Wood wasn't out. I don't know if there's some sort of synchronization issue between the pictures and the Snicko, but I didn't think Pat Cummins was out because the ball was clear of his glove when the spike came up, and the same with Mark.
Well, okay, I can explain that. Simon Torfel, who
equaliser for Pat Cummins, but I didn't think either of them were out.
Well, Simon Torfel made a comment to that. There is an actual on the DRS or whatever system they're using. There is, in some cases, they actually technically have been taught to accept immediate spike or spike shortly after. If it's based on what They believe there might be some delayed spike action on the system. That's exactly what he said. He said they will allow an immediate spike and a slightly delayed one, meaning that unless there's other objects in the way at that time, that's an acceptable dismissal.
Yeah.
How were his words?
Yeah, but
Even
when you looked
at the delayed aspect to it.
But when you looked at the footage for Cummins and Mark Wood, it didn't look like it touched anything. Yeah, which is unfortunate because we were all enjoying it, and yeah, the people when I think a couple of hours before Cummings had tried to bounce Mark Wood, and Mark Wood said, "Okay, let's see what happens." He knew what was coming, slapped 2 sixes into the crowd, and I think what we showed, and I think Paul made the comment earlier, Paul Newman, was that it was good to see England getting runs, but that's because England were able to get to the Australian bowlers, get them tired. The ball was softer. And because they put that pressure on the bowlers, and I think you and David were talking on it earlier, you could then start playing the shots. But the problem with England before is Australia hadn't been put under pressure. Obviously, the Scotty Boland injury put pressure on the seam bowlers. And so England have not had that luxury because the opening batsmen have not really taken the shine off the ball. You look at the innings of, for example, Root and Milan, when they've had big innings, they've been able to play the shots. Unfortunately, they get out, and then the second new ball's taken, and then obviously the England lower order then struggle. So today was brilliant and very enjoyable. Great to see the English or the expats there singing in the crowd. You can't argue about the England support, but it's just disappointing that England were trying to scrape to get to the follow-on, whereas you'd think they should be around that with 3 or 4 down, but it's only from the heroics of the guys in the lower order that we're at the stage that we are.
But you brought up a very interesting point. Australia, in my opinion, especially in the first 3 Test matches, were not tested. They were not put under any real pressure, and therefore they excelled, looked good, looked like they're $1 million. When in fact, I don't think that that good a side. I'm not saying they're a bad side, but I don't think they're as good a side as we think. Look at the way Kwaja came in this match. He batted sensationally. He got dropped, yes, but there's vulnerabilities there. I'm starting. I know I've said this for a while, but Labuschagne has had a couple of innings there where he hasn't done as exceptionally well as he's normally done, and I reckon he's going to have a rough spot now. He has to. He's batted too well for too long.
I think it's the bowlers learning how to bowl at the batsman, and I think we've said this before. Australia have a very strong bowling unit. When Hazelwood there, that is a brilliant bowling unit. And you look at the batsmen, and you've got 2/3 quality batsmen. The rest are who's the best available that we perceive.
Yeah.
And I thought this is where I thought 2 will be my prediction, because I thought England could get at the batsman. The only problem is, and Stuart Broad succinctly made it a couple of days ago, if you're not getting past 140, you can have the best bowling attack in the world. You're not going to win tests. And England's batting has let the side down. You need to be scoring 300 plus regularly in the first innings to put pressure on the bowlers. They haven't put that pressure on the bowlers, and so the batsmen then have an air of confidence to score really well, which they have. Kwaja came in, and he looked like he had all the time in the world batting. It was I think the spin bowling option for England as well, because Jack Leach is put under pressure. It means the seamers are bowling more. It puts them under pressure, and because the seam bowlers are bowling more, you're more likely to sustain injuries like Stokes. So it's a number of factors that are causing the problem. But to me, England's batting just hasn't been good enough.
Yeah, today at least saw somewhat of a change. And I'm hoping that now we'll see, they could still get another 50-odd runs. They could easily, if with a bit of luck, they could get 50-odd runs if Bairstow hangs around. And, if that's it.
Yeah, Bairstow hangs around. Leach, we know, can hang around. Obviously, did it in Headingley with Ben Stokes. The wicket's going to be slightly different. But I think people have mentioned in the comments there, the weather doesn't look good tomorrow, Norman.
No, which is playing in the hands of England, actually, to be honest with you. Because if they can get through this and say bat intermittently tomorrow and give Australia very little time to bat in their second innings, leading into a 5th day, and we end up having a draw, well, that's a good result, I think, for England. They're arresting this 5-0 drubbing, as they might put it. If they were to draw this and even potentially win Hobart, that's an incredibly good turnaround. And Australia won't be as smug about their positioning as they. And I'm really keen on this happening. I really think we need to do this because Australia. Look, okay. When Australia wins, we're all happy, yes. But I don't want Australia winning falsely, easily. Meaning, I don't want to make them think that they're world beaters when they're not. Because when it comes to the crunch is when they'll lose their matches. They were the underdogs to the World Cup and they came out trumps. I think they're going to lose the World Cup here in Australia because we're almost expected to win because we won the previous year. Does that make sense to you? There's an element that goes on. It's very often the case.
But let's go back to the World Cup. Fundamentally, if you won the toss, you won the game. So that's
true.
That's one factor. Although they played well, let's not take that away. But the toss was a major factor. And obviously, when you go into the 2020 later this year, we'll see what happens. But going between this test and the next test, this is the interesting factor. Now, we don't know to what extent Scott Boland is injured. And I think when I was listening earlier, David was talking about intercostals and side strains. As a bowler, that's just the worst because you can't stretch, you can't deliver, you certainly can't, put all the effort into your bowling action. So if there is a potential for Scotty Boland to still have a niggle, then Australia are going to be bowler down. And if Australia are going to bat quickly and then put England in again, then England's main aim will, obviously, I know it sounds crazy, but to just bat as long as possible because you want to put Miles into Cummins and Stark and put them under pressure, get them tired so that you've got a Hobart coming up. This is an ideal opportunity if Australia are going to be down one seamer. That's going to have Cam Green, Stark, and then Cummins as your main bowlers.
Now, Hazelwood supposedly is back for the next test, but I honestly don't think he will be because I don't think Australia are going to risk him in a 5th test match when they won the series, when there's a long year of cricket to come. If he's got anything to still recover, why would you want him to play the last test match?
Indeed, yeah. You played Nisa, you played Richardson, yeah.
Yeah, because it's if he has got a significant enough injury that's kept him out of 2 tests, then, why bring him back for the last when there's nothing on the line? And they've got, my God, the Pakistan tour is going to be extremely interesting. If I could physically go to Pakistan, I will, because I would love to see. That would be the last frontier for me because I haven't seen Test cricket in Pakistan myself live. Have you?
No. And I've got lots of Pakistani friends because we get a chance to talk about cricket. They're passionate about the game and they've missed playing cricket in Pakistan. Obviously, we know the reasons why, but that's down to a minority. Unfortunately, most of the country love their cricket. They want to see the overseas teams playing there. And they've got a great team coming through. Obviously, we had the opportunity to play them last summer. There's some good bowlers there, some good batsmen, and it would be a brilliant series to watch.
Paul Newman is just saying that on Twitter they're calling Boland as cleared of any injury.
Well, if it's clear, we saw the pictures and he'd been to the nets. So so it begs the question: then why did he go off? If there was a tweak or something.
Well, he went to hospital he went to hospital to have a checkup.
Yeah.
So maybe it was bruising rather than an injury as such.
Well, the other consideration, of course, is what's going on while you're playing the game. The body is warm, the muscles are warm.
True.
What's going to happen overnight is you're going to cool right down. It's going to be the same for Stokes, as David was talking about. It's going to be the same for Bairstow and his thumb. The adrenaline's going to be pumping through the body. You wake up in the morning. That's when you really feel how sore things are, and you're getting up and trying to get motivated to go again. So we'll see it. And it could be that they'll look at see how Scott Boland's feeling in the morning. No doubt, being the newbie in the team, he'll say, no, it's fine. I'm just going to bowl. I'm just going to bowl. Just going to play through the pain because he wants to keep his position in the team. But the danger being that if there is some sort of soreness, he may make the situation worse. But thanks for the update, Paul. Yeah.
Oh, look, it's brought some life into the series now, today's efforts by England. I'm pretty happy. Yeah,
it's great. And I think we know the England players are good. I said before, Crawley scored 250 against Pakistan. Hamid scored 100 against India, although it was a warm-up game. Milan showed the talent. Root scored 1,600 runs last year. Stokes scores runs. Butler scored runs. Bairstow scored runs. there's obviously something going on at the moment, that there's an issue about playing at the moment. Is Butler tired? I don't know. Is there a technique issue?
Butler's eyes are extremely red. He
Yeah.
looks very weather beaten, so to speak.
Yeah, we don't know the situation, what's going on in the background. Yeah, if there are family issues, etc. You know, is there illness going on, stress? We don't know, which all contributes to the game, and especially when you are keeping out in the heat for that amount of time as well. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of pressure. So you know, time will tell to see what happens. But I like Butler. You know, he's dynamic player when he's batting. He's a reasonable keeper. He's not the best keeper. We know that. Ben Folkes is probably the better keeper. But
Ben Folkes is in the squad, isn't he?
Well, no, I think so. Yes. Yeah.
Well, if he is, if say Butler's got an injury from this match and they need a replacement, can't Ben Folkes come in and keep?
I don't know how that works. Because there used to be an issue with substitutes coming in playing in specialist positions.
Okay,
but
I'm not aware of what.
Yeah, the rules change quite often. I'm not up to date with those. Because obviously you got Best. I think Milan can keep as well, actually. So to put some gloves on.
Right.
Yeah.
Just quickly, I wanted to bring up Anderson and Broad for a moment. I'm looking at their stats on the screen here. Anderson's got 640 test wickets now. Broad's got 531. They're both, third and sixth ranking. I mean, Broad is probably gunning for McGrath's fifth position. He's only 32 odd wickets away. I'm very impressed. I mean, Stuart Broad, in his interview that I've got recorded on YouTube, and the way he talked, such a nice bloke. Really, really nice bloke.
He's
really
very honest about it. And I think what endears people to Broad is he's not shy to say what he feels. For example, when he got dropped last year, he said, well, I'm fit and ready to go. I want to play. I'm quite angry about it. And that's what you want to hear. You want to hear people saying, no, I was annoyed I was dropped. And similarly, if after the Adelaide test, Root came out and criticised the bowlers for bowling the length. So what's Broad done? Well, he's come back to say, well, the batsmen don't get more than 140. What can the bowlers do? Which does highlight there potentially is there a bit of some rifts within the squad, perhaps. But, you know, you want people to say what they feel. You know, generally you got PR people by side of them with a stick prodding them to say, no, don't say that, don't say that, don't say that, toe the company line, that sort of thing. But we want to see passion. We want to see people really fired up and disappointed in the performances, rather than when you lose, we'll take the positives from the bad performance. Well, there are no positives.
He's taken 531 test wickets.
Yeah, Broad and
Anderson.
He
should be lauded over.
I know. Yeah. Another 5 wickets
He's just taken 5 wickets against Australia.
But
incredible.
It's and you look at Jimmy, and you know, people joke about his age, 39 going on 40, and this is probably his last Ashes series. But blimey, if we go back to the 70s, Colin Cowdrey, Brian Close, etc., all rolled out to face the Australians in the West Indies in their 40s. Now these are batsmen, not bowlers. But when you look at, say, footballers, the likes of Cristiano Ronaldo, who's probably fitter now in his mid to late 30s than he was in his 20s, because of modern science, because people understand nutrition and fitness and recovery, etc.
And mental strength as well.
Exactly. Why can't people play longer? Yeah. If you're feeling fit enough.
Jimmy Anderson, as long as he has no injury that's occurred that's game changing, there's no reason why he can't go on. And I would actually, now the more I think about it, the more I would like him to continue and actually do something. Let's call it like a Tendulkar and play 200 matches. He's 169 now. It's not out of the question he could go for another couple of years and actually do this. I love him to beat Warne's record, because Warne is so cocky that he's not going to be beaten. I love him to be knocked off. I would love him to be knocked off. He would detest having Anderson beat him. But look, even Broad could go for quite a few years more and could actually go into the top 2 or 3 as well. Imagine having Anderson and Broad 2 and 3 in the world. That's just, it's a massive boost for English cricket for the long-term future, because young players will aspire to beat him for generations to come. That's how significant this is.
Yeah. And yeah, certain. And I think what endears Jimmy to a lot of us is his attitude, because you see him on the pitch. He's the grumpiest player known to. Something goes wrong, and he is spitting the dummy all over the place. But away from the game, he's got a very dry sense of humour. There's a podcast he does on the BBC with a couple of people called Tailenders, and he's open to having a lot of fun on there. And similarly, Brody, they do commentary as well at the side. They come across as really genuine people. They love the game.
They're great mates, apparently.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah. Well, Brody keeps saying that Jimmy is his idol. Yeah. And I think this is the other thing we need to consider is Broad is still several years younger than Jimmy Anderson. Yeah. Broad's what, 34, 35, so that he can keep going. But obviously, somebody keeps being dropped, and well, I'm fit enough, keep going. And
I'm getting sick of people saying you can't have them both play at the same time. Bullshit. Play them both together. Don't not do that. No. I mean, okay, we mustn't forget about Stuart Broad. Having a father called Chris Broad who played for his country, we have to take that into account. It's an amazing family.
Yeah.
It's
Sorry, the reason I'm laughing was an incident last year where Chris Broad was the match referee and actually had to discipline his son for bad behaviour. You can just imagine, oh, Dad, I'm sorry, son, but yeah, you're going to have to sit in the naughty step for 36 hours. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was what would have happened. I'm sure he would have complained. Hey, Dad, what are you doing to me? I'm sure they would have complained. But Chris Broad, I'm not knocking his career because he opened the batting for England. He did a pretty admirable job. But his son's outdone him tenfold, hasn't he?
Yeah. Well, I think Chris Broad had a brilliant series. I think it was 87. I think we had the Perth Challenge that winter. And England won the Ashes. They won the One Day as a World Series at the time and the Perth Challenge. And I think Chris Broad had a stonking series as well, just hitting the Australians all over the place. I'd have to double check, but that's the one that springs to mind. Yeah.
But I'm just trying to think how many father-son scenarios are like that. There aren't that many, are there? They're really not.
No, I'm trying to think actually. Oh. Well, certainly still involved in the game. Obviously, you've got lots of sons of famous cricketing fathers, or uncles, in David's case. But obviously, Chris Broad is still heavily involved in the game as a match referee, and Stuart's still playing. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying, okay. Steve Waugh had a son, Austin Waugh. He's gone nowhere. Okay, he was a big talent. He was a very big talent. He's gone nowhere. I'm not knocking it, but there's not a lot of them. I mean, the Chappell brothers, they had a grandfather called Victor Richardson who played for Australia. Yes. I'm trying to think of any examples where sons have come through after their fathers played Test cricket and actually virtually equaled it and then outdone them. I don't know of any examples at all in my recollection.
I'm just trying to...
Bairstow, maybe?
Bairstow David, who was a brilliant, happy chap. Obviously, just a tragic suicide, unfortunately, playing for Yorkshire.
But he played Test cricket, didn't he?
A little bit, I believe, yeah. Not a huge amount, because obviously at the time, David was playing. You had the likes of Alan Knott, Bob Taylor, Jack Russell, etc. All very, very good keepers. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
But certainly, like most keepers,
father,
David Bairstow was mental. Not mental, but he was wild behind the stumps. Yeah, very, very crazy man. Yeah.
So Alex Stewart's father played for England?
Mickey Stewart did, and also was a manager. Yep.
Right. So there are some examples, but there are not many.
No, I was just trying to rack my brain. I'm sure we can come up some.
No, I don't know of any that are.
Yeah, but certainly, as I say, the Stuart Broad and Chris still involved in the game at the same time. That's the interesting thing. Yeah.
No, it's quite incredible. It's quite there's a good comment here from Himanshu Chowdhury, and I have to bring this up. We always talk about Rohit Sharma and Warner and whoever else, but Elgar really
brilliant yesterday. Yeah,
he was the reason why. I'm afraid. Look, I was counting South Africa out of this match actually when they were into the third innings when India were getting close to 260 odd and they had about 240 lead. I thought South Africa had no hope in hell, even though they were 2 for 100 on that night. It's all about Elgar. If Elgar had gotten out cheaply, got 96 not out, he held that innings together. If he got out cheaply, they would have gone over like a pack of cards.
Yeah. And early on in that innings, he was wearing the ball quite a few times. They were targeting him, but he got knuckled down. And that's what you want to see from your batsman. Himanshu, it's a great comment, very true. I think the difference being that Warner and Rohit are more prolific. Elgar is a slightly different player. He's what you would say your classic opener, but he is designed just to be there and take the shine off the ball, blunt the opening bowler's attack, get the ball softer, wear the opening bowlers down, so the later people can come in. But it was a great knock. Yeah, he scored tons against England before. People might say who hasn't.
Well,
But
it was
yeah,
against the grain when they scored 3 for 2, 40 odd to win that match. It was against the grain because they hadn't scored over 200 more or less, not the whole two-test series. So it was a rather unusual. I mean, it's all about, and I've been saying all along, get rid of Elgar, South Africa's gone, and it's proven to be true, except for this last innings.
But what was great about this innings was they just each time they went through and they had longer innings, and you had the partnerships between them. Some of the players only got like 20 or 30, 40 runs, but that partnership then took them through. And of course, you wear the bowlers down, the confidence starts going, and it was great to see. I don't know why Shiraj was chirping so much at the end, because India were on their way out. I think Rahane and Rahul showed the class that they are. Did make me laugh where Bumrah was moaning at Jansen for bowling so many bouncers at him. Given what happened with him and Anderson last year, so that was somewhat ironic. But you want to see that in Test cricket. You want to see that niggle, that fight, and at the end of the game, everyone shaking hands and going forward. Yes, India are going to be disappointed because that was an opportunity to get their first series win in South Africa. But you're right, you've got to take your hat off to Dean Elgar. He just let the ball hit him. Just moved on. He didn't moan about it. He just kept going on. And at the end, you've seen situations where people have been close to 90s where Bavuma might just dotted the ball right. No, I'll let you get your 100. I'll let you get your 100. No, they were saying, no, let's just get the runs as quickly as we can and get the game over with. I don't care if I'm 100 not out. We want the win, which is great to see.
Oh, absolutely. And then ultimately it sets up a great third match. For India's sake, I hope they win. The reason being because I want to see India reach their potential. Now, they are number one in the world at the moment. They're playing against South Africa, which is effectively sixth in the world. An opportunity for India I'm a believer in a team dominates for an era, and I want to see them do that. West Indies in their time. It was great to see the West Indies dominate because they were the best. When Australia did it, they were the best. When England were doing it, they're the best. I do like that. I want a team to reach their potential. India are, more than potentially, they are number one in the world, effectively. They deserve it. And I don't want to see them stumble when they like this, and they're worthy of being number one. Well, let's put a big stamp on it. Let's really thump teams and show that. I rather like that in that circumstance. But the fight's there now, which is great as well. And I think Test cricket is so healthy. We've got South Africa having done this, what they've done, Bangladesh having done what they've done, even England today coming back. I don't like teams dominating if they're not deserving of it.
But people talk about Test cricket being dour at times and not as exciting as white ball cricket, which is very true. But when you look at that India and South Africa game, you could feel the tension. Now, I think I was listening earlier, David was talking about the Bull Ring, the Wanderers ground. It's an empty, cavernous place because obviously COVID restrictions. It's a magic when it's full, and I've been lucky enough to be there a couple of times. But still, you can still feel the tension on the pitch. Even when they're playing and missing, the ball's hitting the batsman. You know that every ball counted because it's a Test match. Test match wins are not to be taken for granted, and they were fighting their way for it. And it was that was probably, and similar to Bangladesh. Okay, it's a bit more of a win over New Zealand, a bit slightly easier, but you want to see the fight there, and I think that's what's disappointed a lot of the England supporters. Is you look at the England batsmen at the time, you think, well, is there really fight? It's some wild and woolly shots. Roots, for example, one today just wafted the bat outside the off stump. I want to see gritty. I want to see determination. I want to see batsmen who are treasuring their wicket. Ian Botham used to say when they're saying about his best England 11, he would talk about Jeff Boycott. And they said, well, Boycott, but he's not really a team man. He said, well, he's not really a team man, but he's the one batsman I trust that would not give up his wicket lightly. And that's what you want from your batsman, really fighting for every single ball.
I think you've hit the nail on the head. It's been enthralling. It's just the time zones don't always make it easy to watch, especially for you at the moment. It's good for me because I can watch a transition between the day of Australia and then the beginning of South Africa at night. No, it's been enthralling. I just hope we now see England continue to battle, continue to fight, even though it may end up being a draw. We want to see this fighting spirit to continue for the rest of this match, and then head into Hobart with that same spirit, because it'd be great to see it go 3 a draw and then 1 to England, it'd be 3-1 victory. That would be okay. Still Australia's victory, but it's a moral victory towards the end for England, which I think is important.
You want to see. I think David's used the term before, and I know Chris and Reg has is ticker. You want to see someone with a bit of ticker. You want to see passion. You want to see fight. You don't want to see someone waving the white flag. Show us what you can do. And then the other thing is, it's like start building for the next series, because you need to understand why you lost this time in the Ashes. So therefore, you need to prepare for 3-4 years' time when you come back again to show what can be done. But then similarly, England, after the Ashes, they've got a test series in the West Indies, slightly different. And then we've got a series next summer. Players now need to be thinking, right, I need to bat because my place is going to be in position, under scrutiny. Bairstow, great, got a great 100. He's locked in for certainly a few test matches. Butler, you've got to consider. You've then got to consider 3 or 4 of the batsmen there. Openers, we still need to resolve that. I still want Crawley and Hamid. They just need to iron out their technique slightly. And similarly, how are we going to handle the bowlers? England spin bowling still is a big miss. We haven't got that Nathan Lyon character that can then just keep bowling and bowling and bowling, holding an end up as we used to have with Graham Swan.
Do you think? I reckon England have got the players there to do that. I seriously do. I don't think it's an issue. I think it's just a matter of giving someone a go. It must be someone else.
It is, and I think we touched on this the last time I was on. Unfortunately, just after we'd lost the game and the Ashes, was we need to put more emphasis back on red ball cricket in the UK. In England. That to have just the county championship games mainly and in early summer and late summer, that doesn't help. Midsummer it's got T20, London Cup, which is the 50 over game, and the 100. And just players, their techniques are great for the white ball, attacking all the time. But when it comes to red ball, you've got to be very wary. You've got to be very slow and very methodical about the game, and then attack when the bowlers get tired. That's the nature of it. So, and I think the ECB need to look at the way that calendar is then scheduled.
So you can't rattle off 2 or 3 names that you would put in as potential spinners for the future.
I'd like to see Parkinson probably given an opportunity. And another one which people would talk about is Liam Livingston. He is very good white ball, as people have shown. He's shown himself. But he has the opportunity when he bowls the white ball to bowl leggy and off spin. Now, he may be somebody to give an opportunity. But he's more a part-time spinner as a full-time spinner. I think Parkinson is more the full-time spinner. The problem that we have is because the way the county championship is played early summer, late summer, the wickets are not really conducive to spinners because the weather is quite damp generally at that time of year, rather than midsummer when the wickets are likely to be drier, when the spinners are going to get more of an opportunity.
So the current under. Hang on, I'm just got something. Hang on, I'm just
talking. I wonder, are you?
They're putting out the post-match press conferences.
Mm-hmm.
But in the under-19 makeup, and David would have vouched for this.
Yeah, David would be the best
players
person
in the tour that are really going well, and they were actually in Australia.
Yeah, David would be more about the under-19s. Sorry, yeah.
No, but I'm just saying to you, if they were those British Lions or whatever the term they give to it, why wouldn't they leave them around the squad and pluck someone out of that group?
I don't know.
Stay with them.
It's sometimes it's the English mentality that, contrary to say India, which is if you're old enough and you are good enough, you'll play. You look at Tendulkar playing at 16. I can't really think of the last time we really had teenagers playing for England.
Zach Crawley's not a teenager, but he's very young.
He's still he's still 20s though. if I use a different example, I was working on a project in the north of England, and we were staying at the Hilton St George's Park, which is England football's training base. Now, in the past, when we were early days of the project, we were there, and sometimes the England squad would be around, and we'd see them. But later on, when Gareth Southgate became the manager, we were told we had to clear the hotel. I said, oh, strange. No, what's happened when Southgate has got all the England players together, he wants to get the B team players and he wants to get the academy, so the under-19s, etc., under-20s, under-19s, etc., all in the hotel at the same time. So everyone is training around each other, getting used to each other, working together and bouncing and getting experiences and learning off each other. So this is, I agree with you, Norman. If the England Lions are around, why not keep them all together so they're all working together? And so such that if a player is showing their potential,
all that sort of stuff, exposure.
So when a player is showing their potential, then they come up to the senior squad. They haven't got this newbie feeling as such. They know the players, and because it's a big squad, as opposed to just this is the main squad and this is the under-19 squad, everyone is in. They are just the England squad, and they're coming in. The transition is a lot easier for them, and this may help them in the future. So therefore, we may see younger players, if they are talented enough, to come through, rather than waste 4 or 5 years in the county circuit before thinking, oh, we'll give them a chance now.
Yeah, I just think that there's a lot of good for that. I think it's an important thing when a player is in his, it may not be his prime, he may need development, but that moment may be the perfect time to blood them in there. It may be a baptism of fire as well, but I don't know. Sometimes you need to think out of the box, don't you? You can't be just one-dimensional the way you approach it.
And I think this goes to what we were talking about before regarding the way the England selection is working at the moment. Rather than having 2 or 3 people involved, Chris Silverwood is, judge and jury almost. So, it's going to be their personal feeling, as opposed to having selectors that tour the country and see what's going on and really saying, you need to give these people an opportunity. But I don't know. Are there any real youngsters out there that are really showing promise? Difficult to say.
Yeah. Anyway, what I'm getting is we keep saying Zach, have either Leach or Bess, and that's it. Well, it's not it. They're the ones which are in that group at the moment. But there's a lot more. There must be a lot more floating.
Oh yeah, but Parkinson's proved that he's a really talented leg spin bowler. There's actually a piece on YouTube you can see where it's almost he bowled one ball and it's almost better than Warne's ball of the century sort of thing, where he's pictured it half a foot outside leg stump and it takes the right handers off stump. But this time he's actually bowling from over as opposed to round that Warne was doing to Gatting. So
see, a guy like Swebson, for example, now, who's not being talked about as being the next spinner to join the group. He's a part of the squad. Yeah, he's not getting a Guernsey. I don't think that much of him. Now, we're restricting ourselves to him because he's expected to be. He's not playing any cricket. He's in the nets. He's doing nothing more than that. Mm-hmm. He's expected to be the next player to chime in. I don't know whether it's necessarily the best way of dealing with it. I think they're missing a trick there because, like Zampa, even Agar, who have been around playing a lot, albeit shorter format, are already made. I personally think Zampa should be our next test spinner. I really do.
Yeah, give him an opportunity. But are we also suffering from the way that test matches or test series are now scheduled? Now, everyone will be familiar that in the past, you used to come in and generally there was a big delay between each test match, 10 days. But in between, there would be, you'd play a state team or you'd play a representative 11 or you'd play a county. And so therefore, the players that were on the fringe were then given the opportunity to play and show their skills in these games. Yeah.
We missed that. Big time.
And so therefore, these players, as you say, are just sitting there twiddling their thumbs, carrying bottles of water, bowling in the nets. Oh, there may be an inter-squad game. That's not the same. I think if you're going to try and have more quality coming through, then you need to try and reinstate some of these games before, rather than trying to squeeze in 5 test matches in a 6-week period, which is ridiculous because you can see straight away the bowlers are falling over themselves because they're getting injured. And And the other thing, of course, in these games, it gives batsmen an opportunity to try and get some confidence in getting used to the batting conditions. I mean, people used to remember, you come to England, the first game you play would be the Duchess of Lavinia's 11 at Arundel Castle. You then play some counties. But of course, what people have been countering that by saying is some of the counties then don't play a strong team. They'll play some of their colts, for example. They don't want to give the tourists any sort of benefit. And I find that's a negative thought. If you got, I remember watching Kent against the Australians, and Kent had a reasonable side out there because you want to see the Australians. They're great. The touring side, some of these players are amazing. So why not give people that opportunity?
They should make it mandatory. They should say, we're doing it whether Kent or whomever likes it or not. I'm not Kent. I mean, it should just happen. Touring sides should be given no choices. You come and tour in Australia, you play 3 games against these teams as well. Fact, we want your exposure, and also it's fair to your players to get exposure as well.
Yeah.
There's a whole host of reasons on both sides. That worked beautifully. You played the Duke of Norfolk's 11 every time Australia would travel to England.
Yeah.
That was an incredible match. I mean, we've got to not lose that. I know they've got time. Look, COVID's really smacked it around.
It is, but before then, we were still losing that. It was all inter-squad games. It was a basic warm-up game, then you're straight into the Test series. And as we were talking about on the last call, and sorry, no, I've got to go in a couple of minutes. India performed so well last summer because they spent so much time in England beforehand. Unfortunately, they lost the World Test Championship, but that was just down to the weather conditions at the time. If it had been a lot drier, then I'm sure that the Indian team would have performed a lot better. Rather wet conditions, New Zealand zipping the ball around. But because they were then able to spend a lot of time and getting used to the conditions, by the Test series time came round, they performed brilliantly, and rightfully so, they were winning the series. We can't say they've won the series because we've still got one game missing.
Yeah.
England came in, and before the Gabba, the warm-up game, most of them were all washed out. So England's coming into the Test series raw, not used to the ball bouncing significantly higher. And there was almost an arrogance to say, no, we're good to go. And clearly it's proved that they're not.
Now, I mean, Himanshu was talking about bowling. We talked earlier about bowling. Bowling seems to be cleared.
Yeah.
The word we're getting is cleared.
Yeah.
But Boland, look, he's done brilliantly well. But I don't think Australia's got him as a long-term solution either.
No.
If Hazelwood's back in.
Oh, I love Hazelwood. Yeah. I think what I like about Josh Hazelwood, it's a very easy action that he's got. It's almost, he just comes in, he's got a beautiful height, a beautiful rhythm, just puts it on that spot. And I think he's benefited certainly from the IPL this year, because I would never have put him down as a white ball player because he would put it on a length. But obviously he's learned from the great MS Dhoni about how to bowl in white ball conditions. So that's improved him even more as a bowler. The best
thing he did was to come under the wing of MS Dhoni. Look, we should never underplay the ability of India to play short form cricket. They are the masters.
So just reading Paul's update, damage to the right side. Yeah. Okay. Well, he didn't bowl in the evening. He was off the pitch for too long. Yeah. He would never have bowled when he came on because he was out for quite a period of time. And still tomorrow morning.
They were both walking towards the next stand. Oh, that was great. Well, that's fantastic. Thanks for your time, Munchie. Come back tomorrow. Well, hopefully we've got an equally as enthralling time if you have got time, because David's rejoining and maybe Richard might even join us. We never know.
No, pleasure to everyone. As I say, just a shame there's no cricket today, actually. Now, it was quite enjoying catching up with you.
Nothing to watch.
All right, then. Okay, wish everyone have a good day. Norman, get some rest. Hope keep getting better from the COVID. Everyone, keep yourselves healthy, and I'll catch you soon.
Thanks, Munchie. Thank you so much. Well, there you go. We had David Graveney and Marcus Lawrence, aka Munchie, joining us. Tobias Maharaja, you're asking us about Australia's fast-bowling depth is best in the world. Well, it's up there, but India's got great depth. Don't worry. South Africa got pretty good depth as well. New Zealand's not doing too badly, but they didn't play well in the recent matches. There's a fair bit of spread around the world. Don't worry. The under-19 circuits, the India, Australia A teams, the British Lions teams, they've got enough floating. Australia's out for the third test. That's a pity. But they've got some depth there too. Don't worry. Maybe good old Ishant Sharma might come back. You never know. All right, guys. I'm going to try and upload. I've got some great media conferences there of Johnny Bairstow. I'd love to hear what he had to say after today's efforts. And then obviously Justin Lager's having a chat as well. India, unfortunately, did not win the second test match. Dean Elgar had a lot to do with that, with his 96 not out. Congratulations. But India still are in the upper hand, you would argue, with the third test in Cape Town. They should get their act together. Virat Kohli's back. They should be at their strength, even though Siraj may be out. They've still got a lot of great bowlers in that team. And they should be able to take this above the stranglehold and win the match for sure. Bangladesh, good luck to them. They're playing New Zealand, and the way they won that much, they never know they might have another win. Who knows? But altogether, it's great. And let's hope England continue to have a bit of guts about the performance. The likes of Bairstow with his 100 not out today, and obviously Ben Stokes, depending on his injury, should be able to resurrect some of the England pride and have them play even better towards the end of that series. So onwards and upwards there for Test cricket. The BBL's there too. We've got a lot of things coming up. Australia are eventually touring Pakistan and Sri Lanka this year. I think England go to the West Indies, and India have got a whole host of games they're playing both in South Africa and around the world. And then ultimately the World Cup happens in late October, November this year in Australia, and that'll be worth watching. And then a further set of test matches over the next Australian summer. So 2022 was yet again another great year for all cricket. In 23, it'll be an Ashes year for us to go to England. So the fair bit going on. This test will be a draw unless Cummins takes 7 for. Yeah, well, I think England are going to pursue this one, and Australia have to bat now into some stage late on the 4th day because it'll be raining intermittently and what have you. So, and the rain will be in the 5th day as well. So yeah, it's going to be quite a likely draw, I would say. So great to have you guys on, Paul Newman. Good night. Thanks for your input, especially the updates on Boland and what you brought up, which is always good. I'm going to upload the video media conferences. Watch out for media conferences of Johnny Bairstow and Justin Langer post day 3 of the test, the pink test. The pinkest test is saying, will the pitch deteriorate tomorrow? It looks like it will. It's already an uneven bounce is already occurring. It's going to get even more difficult to bat on. Australia will have to bat because they can't force the follow-on. And it should, with weather permitting, it won't get much play on tomorrow as well. So all the best, guys. So don't forget to, if you like and share the post, subscribe, hit the notification button at Norm Koch for Twitter and Instagram, and Norman Kochnik there for both YouTube, as you know, Eyes on Cricket with Norman Kochnik, Facebook, and of course, I've got LinkedIn as well. So all the best to you guys. See you tomorrow.